welcome back to the Overplayed podcast, the home of sports and sports gaming in your ear every single Thursday, roughly at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is GoodGameBro, half of this little podcast here. The other half is...
Don't talk about the beard.
Man,
Come on, you talk about the beard every time.
About the beard.
Dude, the intro every time. The intro every time has been about my beard, and you've been leaning on it. Wait, you think I lean on the James Harden bit too much? You've been talking about me. Dude, we had a meeting with raredrop today, and all you could talk about is my beard. I'm seriously starting to worry. There is envy in your voice.
Look at this. Listen, I had a new joke, and you killed my timing.
What? No. There's your comedic timing. I killed your comedic timing. You can't kill things that are 6 feet underground. Let's be fair.
Listen, at least if I'm 6 feet underground, you can still see this part of my head.
Way more than that. Way more than that. You gangly 7-footer.
The other half of this podcast, a man that barely made it today to the stream because he was recovering from the milk crate challenge. Mills, how are you?
You do know that the older you are, the better chance you have in the milk crate challenge, right?
Explain. Tell me.
Well, you have insurance. So you have to have really good insurance, because when you try to do something as stupid as this, you better get ready to go to the ER.
You think you could do it? Do you think you could do it?
Honestly, so the thing is, for those who don't know what the milk crate challenge is, you stack up, it's 1, then 2 on top of each other, then 3, all the way up to, I think it's 5 or 6. You have to walk up it and then back down it. I'm gonna be honest, like, it looks easier than it is. I know that because I've seen everybody get to the 4th one. I think I'm the same way. I think I get to the 4th one because they don't lock in. Like, they're not like latched in. They're just sitting on top of each other, right? And those milk crates are not like have you ever seen a sturdy milk crate? I've never seen a sturdy. Dude, I've sat on a milk crate before and the thing starts caving in.
I work in the grocery store, so I know all about
they
those.
stink, right? They stink. Yeah. Awful. Yeah, no, zero chance I do that.
I think
I get further than you. I get further than
zero
you.
Shot, literally zero.
GCX next year. Get ready. Yep. Yeah, get ready. GCX next year. But get the ER. Get the ER ready too. You might lose both your podcast hosts.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think I could do the milk crate challenge. That's like the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then down. Bro, there's some milk crate challenge I saw. There was like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it was like 6. So they stacked 2 for the top middle
jump? one. Screw that. You're mine.
Like a long. That one I'm not doing. I'm gonna pull a groin, a hammy, whatever that is. I don't know. I don't want to pull it, but there's zero shot I'm doing that one. The other one I got like a 50-50 shot. Pretty sure.
The one going up and down obviously is easier, but like it's one of those things, like, you sit there and go, this is so easy. All you do is just be careful, take your time until you take your time to the third. You get to the 3rd or 4th one, they start shaking underneath you, and your whole body goes, no, we're not taking our time. We got to get the hell off these things. I saw one on TikTok where the dude went off of the 4th one. The crates flew out from underneath him, and he went back first into one crate on concrete. And it just collapsed. He collapsed backwards over it. And I was like, I'll never do that. I'm going to stick with the ice bucket challenge. That's my go-to now. The ALS ice bucket challenge. You remember that from God knows how many years ago?
I do remember that.
That was bad. I remember doing that. That was, my nipples never recovered.
This podcast will never recover.
I'm just saying, like, if you get ice water poured over you and you have a larger carriage like I do, you become a lethal weapon for anyone within 3 feet of, like, your chest. It's just the way it is. Dead air. Come on, you're supposed to continue with this.
Nah,
Stop
this
laughing.
podcast
Why
can't
are you
recover.
laughing?
We're dead. This podcast is
going
DOA.
on? I'm just saying, like, am I wrong? I mean, you're a skinny guy. You don't know. You don't understand. Your nipples get cold. They just harden in place like Captain America shields, completely flat. That's how it works. You don't know what it's like to be big and chubby and, have some load on you. Wait.
That was like in 6th grade. They used to call me, I'm not saying my nickname, but I was.
No. I want to hear it. No. You come on. As long as it's PC, now you got to give it.
I can't.
You can't tease like no. I have embarrassed myself for months with this podcast
episode. Yeah,
and it's about time you start feeding a little information here, Rudy Gobert. Come on, you almost won the gold medal. You almost beat US. We beat US once. Come on.
Someone called me Evan Fournier today, and I took offense to that.
Don't Google that. Don't Google that.
God, do not. I will say my childhood nickname from when I was a thick boy. if you somehow beat me in some sort of contest, which means I'll never say it.
Literally any contest. Remember when we were going to do the sports game Olympics and I beat you so bad in Madden that you just gave up and went running to Warzone or whatever shooter you go to now?
Show me the VOD.
What VOD? You've talked about it on this podcast about being beat. You were the Steelers. I was the Ravens. You were up by a touchdown. I came back and beat you. It wasn't even hard. Like I literally was toying with you. I was talking to my chat the entire time. I wasn't even focused.
I don't recall.
Whatever. And continue with. Listen, we can do this all night. This isn't even a sports game podcast anymore. This is just literally just me and you riffing.
Literally.
So to be fair, this is just continuation from earlier today. Like we had a meeting about the podcast, and for those of you who don't know, like we deal with rare drop, so we aren't like. It's a rare drop. Unfortunately, they deal with us. Unfortunately, yeah. So it's a rare drop podcast. So like we have to talk to them at times to be like, hey, this is the direction. This is what we want to do with the podcast. Things like that. There wasn't any of that. It was essentially GGB going, listen, this is what we kind of want to do. And then immediately the two of us at each other's throats while we have rare drop management laughing at us. That's all these meetings are anymore. And I hung up the phone and I was like, man, these people, how do they deal with us at all? I
feel bad because I'm like, if someone hops on that call and they've never met you and I like prior, they're probably like, yo, wow, those guys.
These two really hate each other. These two can't. How do they do a podcast together?
I hate every Wednesday.
Listen, I'm to the age where I just don't like people anymore. It's much easier to talk into a camera. Why not, right?
Oh God, I have a new intro for next week's podcast now.
What have you? Don't you dare! Old man yelling at the sky. I have a animated emote on Twitch that's literally my logo as an old man like yelling at the sky with his fist pumping. Now it's awful. But okay? I'm moving this train back on the tracks. That's a first for me putting it back on the rails. What have you been playing this week? Obviously, some things have come out. We've had Madden. Couple other cool things. New season of Warzone's in full gear right now. Apex. Yeah. What have you been doing in the time that we have not been together?
Yeah, I mean, I'm still gung ho on Warzone. They banned 100,000 accounts.
Saw that today. Yeah.
For those of you listening to the podcast the day of, so 100,000 new accounts are probably in the midst of being created right now.
It was funny. They said they tweeted that while I was watching Tim the Tatman play, and he literally got hacked in the lobby when the tweet went out. It was literally a hacker. He was spectating because that's like the new thing is to spectate to see if you can find a hacker.
Yeah.
Literally a hacker in the lobby as they tweeted it out.
They're getting better. The servers aren't as bad, and they're starting to people that are trying to create new accounts after they get banned are getting automatically banned. So they're working on, I'm assuming like some level of maybe not hardware banning, but just like recognizing you've a banned account somehow. And then, maybe there's a file and I don't even know, but whatever. They're doing a better job. But
right.
November 5th, the anti-cheat, everyone's crossing their fingers. That new Halo got a release date today for December 8th.
December 8th. And the cool thing is, it's not just, remember there was a rumor going around that the multiplayer and the campaign would come out separately, that the campaign would be coming out afterwards. They confirmed today that the campaign and the multiplayer are coming out on the same day. So that's huge. And did you see that new Xbox Series, the Halo Infinite Xbox Series X? It's like black with like gold plating on it and like stars on top. And the very top of it, I don't know if you can't, I'm pointing behind me if you're on the YouTube. Like the very top of it, it's green on the normal ones. It's like got a blue glow to it instead.
Oh, that's dope.
It's beautiful. If I can get my hands on one, I think it's $550 for a Series X. How funny would it be if it was easier to get one of those instead of like a regular Series X at this point? If I can get one, I want it. Cause like I said, I need another Series X as it is. I'm kind of like a multiple room guy. I travel with one for work a lot of times. So yeah, I'm in for it. I'm all in for it.
Yeah. I wish I had to buy a new Series X because as you know, my Madden next gen will not play. Mm-hmm. Obviously I love football and love doing franchise stuff. So I have a new Xbox arriving today for those listening to the podcast day of. I'm hoping to play my new Madden, but I've been trying to play Madden still. I'm up over like 120 freezes at this point. 2 minutes in every single time. Can't get past that area. Every other game works. So hopefully next week's podcast, I'm talking about how I've played Madden and how I'm excited for the scouting update, but who knows at this point. So
there was a rumor that came out, by the way, for that about the crashes. Do you play on a 1080p monitor or a 4K monitor?
I play on a 1440p monitor. We tried. I tried 4K. I tried 360p. I tried.
Okay, so you did try the
360 to 4K. It was unreal.
A Microsoft support rep apparently told some of the Madden players that if you're not playing in 4K on the Series X, that it would cause the machine to not perform up to standards. And I was like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Jesus. I was like, I get that support reps are just our first level, but like that's not something that should ever be said. No. Myself, there's a game that released yesterday. Well, pre-released yesterday, started today. I have some pictures of it up on my Twitter. It's called Marvel Future Revolution. It's an open world RPG on mobile. It's like a full mobile. It's a free to play experience. There are a lot of costumes you can buy, a lot of things you can buy for it, but it's built on an event called the Convergence, where two worlds start coming together. It's a bunch of different worlds coming together. And you know how Marvel's getting with the multiverse. They're really starting to cash in with that kind of stuff. It brings in different versions of all the heroes. And you start off with like Star-Lord or Captain America. You pick a hero to start off with. And it's cool. The controls are on screen joystick, like a lot of them, or you could use like your Razor Kishi or your Backbone, whatever you're using. But there's also like a little... so there's a combat button. There's a dodge button with like 3 charges that go up over time. So the enemies you can actually see before they attack. But there's like a little array of abilities you can use that are on timers, almost like an MMORPG. And you click them and they're like really cool animated, full, like Star-Lord has one where he shoots rockets, or he has one where he lifts like a group of people up with like anti-gravity bombs and then shoots them out of the air, or he has like this big, his rocket boots and all kinds of stuff. It's very cool to play through, and I chose Star-Lord to start off with. It's a very interesting and unique mobile experience for me. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I'm a comic book nerd, so a lot of that stuff resonates with me, but to see something, it almost feels like PlayStation end of 3, beginning of 4 graphics. It really is done well, like super well. And I'm excited to continue playing that. I haven't spent any money on it yet. I went into the skin store and was like, we're just going to chill. We're in the midst of Madden Ultimate Team. We got NBA 2K22, my team, coming up very, very soon. I think I'm going to hold off on the skins for the free-to-play mobile game, but definitely worth the download. It's a very large downloaded on Wi-Fi, but Marvel Future Revolution by Netmarble. Very, very cool game.
It looks pretty cool. I need to try more mobile stuff. I haven't sorry, these M&Ms are absolutely hitting right now, but I need to try more mobile stuff. But I'm blown away by like how good mobile graphics look now. Like I haven't played mobile games really since like Plants vs Zombies, not when it was a shooter, when it was like the attack and defend sort of like tile style game.
Yeah.
So I like recently looking at some stuff, I've been kind of blown away.
Look, all the Final Fantasy stuff is coming out on mobile. Genshin Impact is a big one that came out on mobile that looks fantastic. Like, you're right. Mobile games, and I think a lot of us thought mobile games would be the thing, and looks like they're going that way. So, really interested to see where mobile games go, especially this Marvel Future Revolution. Speaking of, let's get into some sports gaming. Yesterday, WWE 2K22 put out a new trailer that went around SummerSlam, but they also announced that they're not going to be releasing until March 2022. Now, their normal release schedule is September, October, November, in that area somewhere. This is a big change for them. First of all, you're moving yourself out of Christmas holiday season for gaming. That's a huge boon for video games. But it's also a place where a lot of games go to get lost around some huge releases. The other thing this does for WWE 2K22 is it puts it right in WrestleMania season. So this is a huge thing for WrestleMania. This is something I've said for years, that they should be releasing WWE around their biggest event, which is WrestleMania. I think this is a good move for them, and it gives them more time to work on it. The trailer looked very good. Obviously, people are a little trepidatious because of, previous games. WWE 2K20 was, I think, kind of famous for not being up to snuff. They had their developer walk out, or developer leave the company halfway through development. So what do you think about WWE 2K22 moving their release date, and from what you've seen so far, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I mean, look, I am not a wrestling guy anymore. That phase of my life is sort of like passed me by. But I mean, there are things about wrestling that are still cool, like seeing the crowds pop from different announcements that have happened, and I was gonna say players, but characters and like wrestlers coming back has been really cool. So I still like respect wrestling. I saw the trailer and I was like, yo, okay, graphics are on
Trailer looks
point.
dope. Trailer looks dope for sure.
And like to me, I think, you know, one thing, even before my time in 2K, like one thing that I've always appreciated is like how they capture like the culture, the aesthetic, like the movement and stuff of that nature always seems really, really good in 2K games. So
agreed.
That to me looked fantastic. And then look, the release date, to your point, like WrestleMania is one of those events that everybody knows, right? It is a massive event. To me, it makes the most sense to be aligned with that event. So when they talked about the delay, like obviously that sucks for wrestling fans. No one wants the title to be delayed, but if you're pushing it to a time that gives it more time to polish, especially after how the previous title had been received, to me, it feels like the perfect storm of like where that game should ultimately be, maybe long term. So I mean, who knows? But as much as people want to get their hands on that title and see what it's doing, this delay to me is like okay, we get it, makes sense, willing to wait for it.
And sport wise, like the only thing that's going to go up against sport wise is MLB at that point. MLB and like I think EA's UFC is normally in that area if they decide if this is a year that they're going to release that. You know, alternate sports games, golf games, fighting games, that kind of stuff. Saw a really good article, by the way, about whether wrestling games are considered fighting games or sports games. Which is a conversation we'll have another time, because I know, like I said, I want to give you a little time to prepare for that one before I wipe the floor with you on that one. I mean, let's be fair. I'm a wrestling guy. I've been a wrestling game guy for a very long time. You don't even know what Fire Pro is, noob. So
literally, I know what Fire Pro is. I used to sell that when I worked at Play and Trade and managed that store. It used to be on the PS2. It's also that little sprite game. I know more about wrestling than you think.
That
Mills.
little sprite game, you disrespectful.
It's great. It's a great game.
Unbelievable.
I would destroy you in that game, by the way.
Moving on, NHL. By the time you're hearing this podcast, NHL will have dropped their gameplay trailer. The gameplay trailer will be up. They had just dropped their next gen trailer last week. NHL 22 is in a weird spot. It's their first year for next gen. It is something that has been lauded for a lot of their franchise mode stuff. They've done really well. Their Ultimate Team has actually done okay. I think a lot of people love their EA Seychelles mode, where everybody gets to play one of the different skaters on the ice or the goalie. They've had some gameplay issues, and it's been going on pretty long. Their gameplay is very stale. One of the things they're introducing this year is what Madden already has. They're introducing X factors and abilities to kind of differentiate players on the ice. I think player ID, they've been doing well over the years. Team IDs, it's kind of like you play it once, you kind of play against the same team all the time. NHL next gen, what are your expectations for 22? What do you think we're going to see? Sans the gameplay trailer. Obviously, the gameplay trailer is one of the big things here. We'll get a lot more learned from that. But how did you feel about the next gen, like the sizzle trailer they released, and how do you feel about that NHL 22 next gen?
Yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic. I think there's a couple things that. Correct me if I'm wrong. This is also their first year moving to Frostbite.
Yes. Right?
This
will be the first time NHL's on the Frostbite engine.
So my concern immediately with the game moving to Frostbite for the first year, sure, yes, I know. Obviously, that game is made in the Vancouver studios. They have the FIFA team to sort of lean on and things of that nature. I worry about movement in that game. If there's one area of concern I would have for NHL 22 coming in, it's like the movement. So, dear God, I hope when the gameplay trailer drops, they're sort of attacking that head on and showcasing that that's not going to be an issue. But that is one of my biggest concerns for that game, because that game is one of those that has such a high skill level. If you can dangle and you can move, they've changed the controls to simplify and make it a little bit easier for people over the years. But people that have an understanding of the movement in that game are literal wizards on the ice. And I have been juked out of my shoes more so than if you play the James Harden video and me 700 times in a row. It's literally insane. But I just hope they get the movement right, because that's so important to that series, the weight of the characters, the movement. But I also love that franchise. Like I love what they've been doing in recent years. I thought their career mode last year was a really big step up. I thought it was a really cool evolution for Be a Pro. There was some monotony and some sort of like stuff I wish they had more variance to. But the idea of where they're going like gives me a lot of promise. So I hope we're seeing them blow some of that stuff out. We'll obviously have to wait, but I'm cautiously optimistic for that game for sure.
Yeah, as someone who plays NHL, last year was the first year I really didn't dive into NHL as much as I normally do. Again, I'm worried about the gameplay specifically. Next gen, new engine, working with Frostbite, COVID. That's a formula that I don't want to deal with. Like that's a formula that you have to be so precise with that formula to update gameplay from everything we've seen so far. Okay. I'm legitimately worried. NHL does not have a good track record moving to the next gen system from an old gen. NHL, we've talked about again, almost infamously, NHL 15 almost did not come out. It released as a bare bone game for the Xbox One. I'm a little worried. I think their franchise mode will be fine. I think they could bring that over. I really hope we start to see online or connected by GM at some point. I know that's a niche thing for a lot of places. I really hope we see that at some point. I really hope we see some CPU AI upgrades like we've seen in Madden this year, like we're supposed to be seeing in FIFA this year. But I am genuinely worried that the smallest team in EA in terms of sports games is going to get overwhelmed again by the fact that, again, next gen, shortened cycle, and COVID. Most of these guys and girls are still not in the office, so that worries me. By the time you listen to this, I really hope we're all happy about what we've seen in the gameplay trailer. I am. You're cautiously optimistic. I am cautiously pessimistic. I am not. I feel bad. I feel worse for this game after seeing the next gen trailer than I did beforehand. So, but I tell you what I feel good about, and that's the NFL. The NFL is back. We are in week 3 of the preseason this weekend. The last week, for those of you that didn't realize the 17 game season, we're going to get a week off. So what we're going to do is we are going to go over the NFC and the AFC. We're going to break them down. First, before we get into the NFC, I do want to talk about something. So a couple of quarterbacks named starters this week in the NFL. Trevor Lawrence was named by Urban Meyer in Jacksonville over Gardner Minshew and, a multitude of other players that have been through camp. Teddy Bridgewater named over the more popular backup quarterback always is in Denver, or the more popular Drew Lock in Denver. And then Jameis Winston in New Orleans officially gets the nod over Taysom Hill. Talk to me about these 3 quarterbacks, and do you think these were the right choices for these 3 teams?
Yeah, I mean, look, I still think Urban Meyer is not going to have a second season in Jacksonville, but he would not have made it through his first season if he didn't start Trevor Lawrence. Right. The 17 Jaguars fans would have literally had a revolt, and they would have demanded him to be fired, and it would have been, a very little small stampede of people being angry that people that watch Jacksonville Jaguars football. So Lawrence to me was the easy one. I don't think anyone's really shocked by that. They could talk about Minshew has grit. Once teams figured out that dude couldn't throw anything other than like a curl route,
right?
He was non-existent basically for Jacksonville at that point. So not surprised by that. Teddy Bridgewater in Denver did surprise me. To me, it is the right move, but it is not the move that I expected them to ultimately make. Teddy B is going to be more consistent for them. He's not going to. Here's how I view Teddy Bridgewater, right? He's going to make 85% of the game. He's going to make the right decision for you. He was one of the best in terms of completion percentage last year in the NFL. I think top 5 or top 10 at worst. And then when you look at sort of like, you have a couple of plays a game where he's going to try something, right? He's going to try something. He's going to force it. Might be a pick, might be a big play, might just be an errant throw. I think Teddy B is much better than people give him credit for. We forget that he was 5-0 in New Orleans not too long ago. So I think Teddy B is the right move for a team that's going to be hanging their hat in their defense and looking for some explosive plays on offense here and there with a really good young receiving core. And then Jameis in New Orleans. Look, I love Jameis's personality. Sean Payton would be an idiot to start Taysom Hill at quarterback. Taysom Hill is also the first person that will lose essentially more than likely the starting quarterback job, but still be a starter on his team. That is a really weird thing to be, but considering New Orleans has multiple tight end injuries, put Taysom Hill where he needs to be. Taysom Hill is going to be more impactful for the team, playing that tight end, wing back, like flanker type thing that he's been playing.
Yep.
And he will be a quarterback throwing lame ducks like the 2.0 version of Tim Tebow.
I agree. So I agree with you on Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is cut and dry. Like Trevor Lawrence, cut and dry, was winning that job from the start. The only reason you don't put him in is if you're scared for his safety. If you're scared for Trevor Lawrence not making it through the season, yeah. I will talk about Jameis Winston. I'm a huge Jameis Winston guy. Okay, yes, Jameis Winston's going to throw you probably a good number of interceptions, but he has the talent to throw you a ton of touchdowns and a ton of yards. And the person that's going to suffer the most in the New Orleans offense is going to be Alvin Kamara, because teams are going to key in down on Alvin Kamara and hope Jameis and try to get Jameis to beat them. They're still going to have Michael Thomas. They're still going to have a very good defense, but Jameis, for the first time in his career, Jameis is going to have to be kind of a safe quarterback. Like, Drew Brees was given the reins. Jameis Winston isn't going to be given, like, Sean Payton's not going to trust Jameis Winston with the offense. He's going to call safe. He's going to call down the field once in a while because that's what Jameis excels at. But like, Jameis is going to have to cut down the interceptions. The problem is, do we really think Jameis can do that? And
surgery. Well, he had
surgery in his eyes.
Surgery.
I know. Everyone talks about the surgery in his eyes. Okay, I get it. Let me tell you something else here. But I do agree that he's better than Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill is a trick quarterback. He's a gadget quarterback. Gadget quarterbacks do not work in the NFL. You have to be able to do something else. Taysom Hill cannot throw the ball, like not with any consistency. So Jameis is the right choice here. The most interesting choice here is Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater. I'm a huge Teddy Bridgewater guy. I love Teddy Bridgewater when he was in Minnesota. I loved him when he had to come in for New Orleans. I thought last year he kind of got jobbed in Carolina a little bit. Carolina's got a great receiving core, but once McCaffrey went down for them, it's a really tough place for him to be in. The offense had to change completely to Mike Davis. They had to change like infinitely to what that was. But Teddy Bridgewater long term is going to be better than Drew Lock. Like I said, I love that Drew Lock is getting some love in Denver. The reason Drew Lock is getting love is because he's the backup. Okay, that not because he's playing. He's not a world beater. He's not that guy. He's not even a game manager. He's a swing man. He's one of those guys that in 3 years you're not going to hear about in this league. Okay, unless he's just bouncing team to team for a team that needs a backup. Teddy Two Gloves is a guy that can lead Denver, possibly with that defense and with the offensive capabilities they have with Jerry Jeudy and that running game, which I'm hoping is going to be better with Philip Lindsay this year. They could possibly sneak into the playoffs if the Chargers don't take a real step forward. We know the Chiefs are good in that division. If the Chargers don't take a real step forward, like that, and I don't think the Raiders are good. The Raiders are going to be based off that new stadium they're finally going to fill. I think the Broncos got a real chance of slipping into the playoffs with Teddy Two Gloves at the helm. So, but we'll talk more about the AFC chances next week. Let's talk this week. What we want to do is, we know in 2 weeks, the NFL starting. We want to give you guys a full preview of the entire league. We're going to start with the NFC this week, the AFC next week. You already have like what our early picks were for the Super Bowl. We'll see if those change after going through those previews. We'll give our Super Bowl picks at the end of the episode next week. But we're going to start off with the NFC. And we're going to start real close to home for both of us, the NFC East. The NFC East has Washington, who won the division last year. Dallas, who's going to be having Dak Prescott back off a major injury. Philadelphia, who has Jalen Hurts and a prayer at this point. And Danny Dimes leading the New York Giants with again a rehabbed Saquon Barkley. Let me give you a quick overview of what these teams got in the draft or in free agency and lost. So Washington, again, one of the most interesting teams in the division, already has a top 3 defense. They added Ryan Fitzpatrick, who was an upgrade, in my opinion, over Taylor Henneke and Kyle Allen. Curtis Samuel from the Panthers, who's going to reunite with Scott Turner as offensive coordinator. and is a massive upgrade over what they had. Now, Terry McLaurin is still the number one, but Curtis Samuel's a big upgrade for them. Adam Humphries, who's one of those guys, he has concussion symptoms, so you're always worried about what his health status is going to be, but he's one of those guys that catches the ball over the middle for you. He's one of those guys on third down you can always find, and he'll come down with it. William Jackson will be an upgrade in the defensive backfield for them. Jamin Davis, who I talked about during the draft, and I think we both agree here, has a real shot at Rookie of the Year in that defense. That defensive line, that defensive front is going to keep Jamin Davis really, really clean. So we're going to see what the first rounder out of Kentucky can do. And then Dimey Brown, who's kind of stepped up in the wide receiver position for them, might be a return man as well. Going to take the top off the defense, allow McLaurin and Humphries to work more underneath. The only people they're losing is Alex Smith and Ronald Darby. And honestly, Darby kind of looked slow last year in that defense. Darby was the guy that got picked on in the defense last year. That's Washington. I'm going to, real quick, the Giants get Kenny Golladay from the Lions, down the field threat for Danny Dimes. They get Kadarius Toney out of Florida, who's going to be a speedster in that little small but speedster in that offense. Devontae Booker, who'll be a good backup from the Raiders for Saquon Barkley. Azeez Ojulari, who was the number two pick from Georgia as a big time edge rusher for them, and Adoree Jackson, a very good zone cornerback for the Titans. They do lose Dalvin Tomlinson in the middle of the defense for run stuffing. They lose Golden Tate. I think Golladay is probably an upgrade there. And they lose Kevin Zeitler on that offensive line. Joe Judge is already dealing with fights in practice, and he looks like that's what he wants. That's what he wants. He wants to have that old school football mentality. Dallas is getting Dak Prescott back. That's the biggest acquisition for Dallas. They get Micah Parsons out of Penn State, who's going to be a fantastic middle linebacker for them. Is going to be really fast side to side, little undersized, but that's okay. Kelvin Joseph out of Kentucky at cornerback, and Keanu Neal from the linebacker from the Falcons, who is going to kind of like play a safety linebacker hybrid that the Dallas loves so much. And they lose Andy Dalton. They don't really lose anybody. Alden Smith didn't do too much. Xavier Woods is a loss for them in the defensive backfield. Chidobe Awuzie, I didn't really like in their defense, and Cameron Irving on the offensive line, but their offensive line is pretty good historically. Last but not least, we have the Philadelphia Eagles, who I think we both agree are probably going to bring up the bottom of that division. We're going to get Devontae Smith out of Alabama, probably one of the most polished rookie wide receivers. Kerryon Johnson in the backfield from the Lions, the elite one, who might be starting for them by midseason. Joe Flacco, damn right. Waka Flacco Flame going to be starting for him. And then Zach McPherson out of Texas Tech, who is kind of going to step into a starting role for them. Probably they lose Carson Wentz as if they had him. Deshaun Jackson, who goes to the Rams. Alshon Jeffrey, who is just going to retire probably, and Jalen Mills to the Patriots. Now, those are the big moves you've seen for these teams. What are your thoughts on the NFC East?
For me, also Dallas got Malik Hooker, I think, too, as like a late signing. I want to say. Oh, okay.
No, I missed that one.
I might be wrong in that. Some Dallas fan will probably yell at me about that, but I think they also got him. My thing with this division is there are two teams that can win this division.
They did sign Hooker, by the way.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah, I love Malik Hooker. I think he's a high upside guy for them. If he doesn't perform, whatever. But
he will probably be in the spot Xavier Woods is
exactly.
Yeah.
I think you're looking at this division as Washington is by far the favorite. I don't think how you can look at what they did last year, what they sort of upgraded around this year, and say they're not the favorite. Right. Dallas Cowboy fans probably disagree, but that's because it's the Cowboys' year. They're going to win it all every year. I think the Cowboys are interesting, but I'm also scared of Dak coming back off that. They didn't really reload in a lot of areas. There's a lot of pressure is going to be on CeeDee Lamb this year to be that top performer for them, and he's going to have some crazy stuff thrown at him. He's going to get the bulk of the attention, and it's different, man. Like I'm not comparing CeeDee to Juju as like a player, but I'm comparing him in terms of what happened when Juju became the number one guy. You got all those double coverages. Things are a little bit different. It's a different ball game for you. But I think CD is significantly more talented than Juju, to put that out there. If I had to pick a division winner, I'm going Washington. If I had to pick a team that wasn't Washington to win it, oddly enough, I'm going with the Giants. Look, you're getting, I know, but you're getting Barkley back. You're putting a lot of weapons around Daniel Jones. I do not believe in Daniel Jones.
Right.
But the Giants have historically had weird teams that everyone is like, oh, they don't really make a lot of sense. And somehow, some way, they have these backups that end up being fantastic linebackers who end up becoming perennial all pros for them, and they just start locking people up. I just think when you have Barkley, you bring in Booker as more of an insurance policy, I think, than anything for Barkley and how the injuries he's had, unfortunately. Galladay, if he stays healthy, the Giants could be a little bit of a sleeper team because that division is going to beat up on itself. Right. You never know who's going to win games in those division games. I think the Giants are going to beat the Eagles pretty easily. Cowboys, you never know. Washington is going to be the cream of the crowd. But if I had to pick a sleeper team out of the division, it's the Giants.
I've seen a lot of people compare Daniel Jones, not by the play style, but by the fact that he is kind of a under-talented quarterback that performs at weird times, like really shows up at weird times. Really compare him to Eli Manning. And this sounds crazy because Eli Manning, when you watch Eli Manning's entire career, Eli Manning was not a great quarterback for large portions of his career. He had some of the hottest streaks you will see that led them to the Super Bowl. But like he also made some awful decisions, and he was not like his brother Light. Like he was like his own little gunslinger. He was like Brett Favre Light almost. To where he threw the ball to the other team and felt like he could just throw it to anybody. And he might have been one David Tyree catch from not winning that Super Bowl. So I can see the Giants being a sleeper. I just cannot see. First of all, that offensive line, I think, is going to lose Zeitler, and I think that offensive line is going to be a problem for them. And when you get a quarterback with happy feet and an arm that tends to throw the ball in the other team's hands, I just don't see it, man. I don't see Daniel Jones being comfortable enough in the backfield, even with Saquon Barkley. And I do agree that Devontae Booker is a fantastic bookend for that like handcuff there. I just don't think they can do it with that offensive line. I think their defense is going to be okay. I do worry about their interior run defense, especially losing Tomlinson. I just don't think that they're going to be able to put enough points up on the board. Even if Saquon is fully healthy and has himself a year, I still don't think that's enough. I don't like Kenny Galladay. I think Kenny Galladay is more a product of Matthew Stafford and them being behind in a ton of games. I think he got paid off the fact that the Detroit was not very good for a very long time, and Matthew Stafford was a much better quarterback than Daniel Jones will ever be. And I think Detroit's going to find that out really soon.
I don't disagree.
I would say if any team makes the wild card out of there, and I'm actually picking them to make the wild card, I think Dallas makes the wild card. I think we already know my feelings about Washington. Sure. I think Washington gave, let me be clear. Last year, Washington with Taylor Heinicke at the helm gave the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a run in the playoffs against Tom Brady. They have a much better quarterback, albeit a quarterback that might be a little more chaotic than Taylor Heinicke. Fitzmagic is going to try to be Fitzmagic most games. What he needs to be is just Ryan Fitzpatrick, normal guy. You know, come back, show your chest hair all you want afterwards. Do it after you've thrown for 150 and 2 touchdowns. Don't try to go for 300 and 4 and 4. Okay, like let your team be your team. Let your defense be your defense. Let Antonio Gibson run wild because that's what he's gonna do this year. Give the ball to McLaurin. Let him make plays. Give the ball to these other guys. Dimey Brown might be the guy that really changes this offense. I love Curtis Samuel. I think Curtis Samuel has a monster year this year. I think Terry McLaurin takes a lot of pressure. But if Dimey can actually slot into that third role, stay on the outside so McLaurin can work the middle correctly, this team becomes immediately dangerous with the weapons they have. We're not even talking about the fact that they're better on defense with Jamin Davis. They're better than the top 3 they were in last year with a fast, side-to-side, proven linebacker. Even though he's a rookie, like proven like side-to-side run-stopping linebacker who can cover the pass. It's going to be fun to watch the Washington football team this year. Let's move on. NFC North. We got the Bears, Lions, Packers, and Vikings. So only one deep in the division. I have to take the jab. I got to take the jab. Let's start off with the Lions. Obviously, they're rebuilding. For all the people they got Jared Goff in the trade for the Rams. This is pretty much just bridging them to the rebuild. Tyrell Williams from the Raiders, who's actually not a bad receiver, did miss the 2020 campaign. He had a torn labrum. Brashad Perryman, ex-Raven, who somehow found a career resurgence with the Jets and the Browns. Started catching the ball. Who knows? But again, oft injured. Jamal Williams from the Packers, who was backing up Aaron Jones last year. He should be very good as a kind of a secondary back behind DeAndre Swift, who should be better this year for any carries he gets. But again, we talk about it. They lost Stafford, Galladay, Marvin Jones, which is their two starting receivers, and Kerryon Johnson, who they can afford to lose to DeAndre Swift. The Minnesota Vikings get Christian Darrisaw out of Virginia Tech with their 23rd overall pick. Probably going to be a stalwart tackle for them for a very long time. Kellen Mond, who may not see a lot of action this year. If Kellen Mond sees action this year, the Vikings are a bad team. He's not ready yet. He might be the savior for them that isn't Kirk Cousins, but he's not. He shouldn't see the field this year. Mackenzie Alexander from the Bengals, who is going to be in a system that works with him. The Bengals are switching systems. The Vikings are the system he used to be in. See a little uptick in production from him. And Patrick Peterson, trying to reinvigorate a career that people have kind of given up on him. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder, always like those guys. And Xavier Woods, who we talked about for the Cowboys, will be next to Harrison Smith to form one of the best safety duos in the league. They lose Kyle Rudolph, big offensive piece for them. Mike Hughes, cornerback to the Chiefs, and Anthony Harris. And then the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears, we have Justin Fields, who doesn't look like he's going to start. It looks like it's Andy Dalton's job to start the season. We will see. Which is funny because they got Andy Dalton for the Cowboys as well. Damian Williams, who's going to step into that backfield, coming over from the Chiefs, where he saw time when Clyde Edwards-Helaire was injured and did well with the Chiefs in bit pieces. Desmond Trufant from the Lions, who's been a kind of very good man cover guy for them for years. They lose, not much. Anthony Miller, Cordarrelle Patterson, Kyle Fuller's probably the biggest one on their defense, but they kind of knew that was going to happen. And I think, while I don't think Trufant is as good as Fuller, I think he steps in nicely. And then last but not least, we have the Green Bay Packers, who kind of, I'm going to be not me for a second. Okay. I'm going to turn into football analyst, not Mills. I think the biggest acquisition here is not losing Aaron Rodgers for this season. Now, they brought in Randall Cobb to appease Aaron Rodgers. They got Eric Stokes in the draft in the first round. They got Josh Myers at center, who's going to be taking over for, a team that historically has amazing offensive linemen. So he's got big shoes to fill. Amari Rodgers out of Clemson, a wide receiver who's going to have a good role for them next to Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb. Kylan Hill in round 7, who is going to be, looks like stepping up and probably be the third running back, but also maybe a third down back for them too. To spell Aaron Jones. It sounds crazy, but he's had a really good preseason. And Devondre Campbell, who's an inside linebacker in the 3-4 for them from the Cardinals. They do lose Jamal Williams backing up Aaron Jones. They do lose Corey Linsley, who's going to be taken over with by Josh Myers. He goes to the Chargers. Here's the thing for me. If Aaron Rodgers left the Packers, this is a completely different division. Okay? As it stands right now, the Packers are far and away the best team in this division. I don't think anyone else is even close to them. I'm not going to talk about my Justin Fields bias because I've talked about it before. I still believe that when it comes to first round quarterbacks, outside of Mac Jones, because he was kind of further down, when you're talking about those top 10 guys, I still think Justin Fields is the least talented of all of them. And that's not, that's saying a lot. It's a high bar, but I don't think Fields has a successful NFL career. I think there are throws he can't make. I think the Bears are a bad situation. The only thing is I have a lot of Bears friends that I really hope he's good for, but I just don't see it, man. I don't see it. And I think Dalton is going to be out by mid-season, and I don't think Fields makes them very much better.
Yeah. We feel polar opposite, I think, on Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields is in the running for most talented quarterback in this draft. I think Fields is like a significantly better prospect than I think a lot of people give him credit for. Even if Fields started day one in Chicago, I don't think Chicago is a playoff team. I think you're going to have rookie issues for sure. And then if Andy Dalton starts, obviously you're going to have Andy Dalton issues, which means you're definitely not going to the playoffs. So I don't have high expectations for them, but I do think you're going to see some flashes of field. It's going to be fun. I agree. It's the Packers division to win. The Lions,
the Lions are going to be bad. Dude, taking on that. Now, granted, they got a bunch of draft picks for taking Goff's contract. Don't get me wrong. If they're smart with their draft, they'll be good. The problem is they're not smart with their draft. I love DeAndre Swift. Jared Goff is a black hole for football. I'm sorry. He had maybe 2-3 good weeks last year, and everyone was like, "Oh, look, the Rams are going to be okay." And then you found out that that's Jared Goff on a uber talented, what should have been a Super Bowl LA Rams team that was led by Jared Goff.
Yep. And then when you look at the Vikings, there's so much talent on the Vikings.
Kirk Cousins.
That's their hindrance.
You and I are going to say the same thing, right? It's Kirk Cousins. Cousins is the problem.
Yeah, I mean, late game, you have two Kirk Cousins, right? You have the Kirk Cousins at a couple of games out of the year. He's going to have a fourth quarter comeback, and he's going to scream you like that into the mic, and there's going to be all the memes. And then you're going to have 80% of the other time when you're having late games and Kirk Cousins is throwing you out of the games, or you have a lead and Kirk Cousins is challenging a throw that doesn't need to be thrown. I as a coach, I would not be able to trust Kirk Cousins, and as a fan, you're better off moving on from him. But this is probably one of the last few seasons you're going to see of Kirk Cousins. Kellen Mond's probably going to be at least the future unless they go with someone else falling into their lap. But to your point, I don't think Mond is ready right now. Let that kid sit for a year, give him to whatever. Agreed. Mond is going to be fun. It's just let Kirk Cousins break your heart this season and then watch the Packers go on to do well.
Here's what I will say. They are super talented around Cousins.
Agreed.
They have a very good offensive line. They've got the rookie of the year and probably one of the best receivers we've seen in a while.
And the most underrated running back in the league, probably.
Dalvin Cook, absolutely. Yeah, Dalvin Cook. They got Justin Jefferson. They got Adam Thielen, who needs to get his head screwed back on right. He needs to understand that he's the number 2 now, because if you watch game tape on Adam Thielen, that dude does not like being number 2, and he needs to get back on that field to have that team play well. They're going to be able to sleep on the Vikings this year. They're number 2 in that division over the Bears based on their defense alone. I think their defense, what they've done, I love putting Xavier Woods next to Harrison Smith. I think that reinvigorates Smith a little bit. I absolutely adore their front seven. I think that their defense carries them for a lot of this season. And I think Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, and Dalvin Cook are enough to possibly stiff playoff time with them. Again, I don't think they're good enough to go anywhere because Kirk Cousins is not the answer and never has been. Okay. But I do think they stiff the playoffs. I don't know if they get it. I don't know if they get in the playoffs because I really like the NFC West, but I think they come close.
Yeah, I agree. Vikings in the conversation for the playoffs. Packers are definitely your division leader, division winner. Rodgers has an MVP like season. Mills buys his jersey and everything's good to go.
If Aaron Rodgers wins the MVP, I will buy a Green Bay Packers jersey. I will buy a real Aaron Rodgers Green Bay Packers jersey, like an authentic. Okay,
I'll send you the link. I cannot wait.
You can build it yourself. I'll even put like little hearts on it and like little patches about how much I love the man. So I'll do the discount double check live anywhere you like. I will give you a year of just being like Mills discount double check, and I'll start doing it
on top of the milk crates. You go to the very top, do the discount double check.
Aaron, the name of Aaron Rodgers. Let's move on to the NFC South now. Other side of the map. We're going to start with the Atlanta Falcons, who have probably the most talented receiver in the draft. I called him a generational talent. We will see. Kyle Pitts, number 1 or the number 4 overall pick out of Florida. He will play tight end for them. Mike Davis coming over from the Panthers. We talked about how well he did with the Panthers last season. He's going to take over the running back duties for the Falcons. Richie Grant, which is the number 2 pick out of UCF. He's going to play safety for them. Cordarrelle Patterson coming over for the Bears. More of a kick returner. He's going to play running back too since he shifted that position. But for the most part, you're seeing a dynamic kick returner for them. They do lose Julio Jones. They traded Julio Jones to the Titans. I don't think that hurts them as much as some people, and we'll talk about that here in a second. Keanu Neal, which I think hurts them much more, the hybrid safety going to the Cowboys. Todd Gurley, who, I mean, when he's not falling into the end zone by accident, probably doesn't have a whole lot left. I bet the LA Rams are kicking the tires right now. And Brian Hill, who was his backup, went to the Titans as well. The New Orleans Saints, we talked about them before. They're going to be starting Jameis Winston at quarterback. They also get Nick Vannett from the Broncos, a big time blocking tight end for them, who's going to probably be second tight end, but that's really good for their offense and Alvin Kamara. You got Chris Hogan, who's going to be going across the middle for them for the Jets. Pete Werner with the second round pick out of Ohio State at middle linebacker. He's going to be starting for them to start the season. He's going to be the side linebacker, not the starting linebacker, the IDP. So we'll see how he does. He's probably going to be doing a lot more pass coverage than the other side. And then the most interesting pick for me is, and he's going to be on the roster to start the season, is Ian Book out of Notre Dame. He's going to back up Matt Ryan. He shouldn't see a lot of time, but don't be surprised if you see Ian Book in some of those Taysom Hill packages. If you see, because Atlanta's going to have to do some things this year to be competitive. Don't be surprised if you don't see Ian Book out there doing some crazy packages. And so they lost, obviously, Drew Brees. They lose Emmanuel Sanders. I'm sorry, not Atlanta, New Orleans. You'll see him out there with New Orleans with Taysom Hill and Ian Book. So Emmanuel Sanders, wide receiver to the Bills, and then Jared Cook went to the Chargers. Moving on, the Panthers. Sam Darnold is the big key here. Sam Darnold's now going to be the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers. We've talked about my love for him before. Dan Arnold's coming over from the Cardinals, who will start for them after a big season in Arizona last year. J.C. Horn, who's going to start on one side of the cornerback tandem for them. Very, very good cornerback out of South Carolina. 8th overall pick. Terrace Marshall, who's kind of been a little underwhelming this preseason, but tall dude, really super fast, and he has a relationship with their offensive coordinator Joe Brady, probably part of the reason they drafted him out of LSU, but he's a down the field threat. And then Chuba Hubbard out of Oklahoma State, a very good running back, is going to back up Christian McCaffrey. That made Mike Davis expendable. They lost, obviously. Teddy Bridgewater is going to be to the Broncos, Mike Davis to the Falcons, and Curtis Samuels to the football team of Washington. And then last but not least, on the South, the Super Bowl champions trying to repeat. You've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers getting Giovanni Bernard from the Bengals, who's going to do really good stuff behind Leonard Fournette. You got Joe Tryon, linebacker out of Washington. You're going to see him, again, another edge rusher for Tampa Bay. The best quarterback of the draft. Second round pick. Only second in the draft, only second round in the draft, because he's number one in your heart. Kyle Trask out of Florida, going to be Tom Brady's heir apparent. You love it. And then Robert Hainsey, who's a guard out of Notre Dame. Notre Dame obviously known for a lot of their offensive linemen. Jalen Darden out of North Texas with a fourth round wide receiver. Looks like he's actually going to make the roster. And KJ Britt out of Auburn, who's going to be a big time special teamer for them. They lose LaShawn McCoy, not a big deal. Joe Haig, offensive tackle, again, not a big deal. They don't have the depth of the offensive line they had last year, which really helped them in their stretch. But looking like a good chance for Tampa Bay maybe to run it back. Talk to me. I'm gonna be frank. I think Atlanta's terrible. I've never been a Matt Ryan fan. I think Atlanta's terrible. I think they continue being terrible. I think New Orleans is awful. I like their defense. I've always liked their defense. I think New Orleans is not even a 500 team this year. I think Carolina is the breakout team, and I will continue with that. I think Sam Darnold had a problem under Adam Gase, and I think Sam Darnold has a breakout year this year. What say you about the NFC South?
Look, this division is so weird to me. I think Tampa definitely wins the division. I don't think it's handedly. I think it's going to be close. As long as Tom Brady stays healthy, by the way. Sure. As long as Tom Brady's health is the big thing here. I know we talk about Tom Brady getting old, and we've said this how many years in a row. As long as he stays healthy, that team is the class of probably the NFC. Agreed. Atlanta, all they're going to be doing is sort of figuring out if they want Sam Howell or Spencer Rattler. That's all they're figuring out this season. That's really their main thing. The Panthers are interesting to me. I'm not a big believer in Darnold. I know you are, you got the statue, you're worshiping Darnold. I don't know if Darnold's really that guy. I like a lot of what they do. McCaffrey, as long as McCaffrey's healthy, he's unreal. McCaffrey's like one of my favorite talents in the NFL. Agreed. I think McCaffrey's going to have to do too much this year. And when McCaffrey has to do too much, it's typically too much for his body. And you see him go out for a little bit. And so that's what I'm more worried about for Carolina. Like, even if Darnold has a good year, I still don't know if as much as they're going to need from McCaffrey, if he can stay healthy long enough to really put that team over the top to get to a playoff berth. But look, man, get the crab legs ready. I'm here for Jameis.
God,
I'm thinking Jameis, as much as you are hyping up Darnold, I'm hyping up Jameis Winston, man. Jameis Winston is throwing for 4,000 yards this season. They're going to struggle early because Michael Thomas is out, I think, for at least for the first little bit. And then I don't remember when he comes back. But Kamara's going to have, if you got a PPR league, get yourself an Alvin Kamara, because Kamara's going to have an incredible start to the season.
Here's the problem. Here's the problem with what you just said, though. Like, Winston doesn't check down. Winston doesn't look for his running backs.
Sean Payton's going to make him. Sean Payton's going to make him. But their big threat, though, that Callaway kid, is it Marquez Callaway or whatever? He's looked really good. And sure, small sample size. I think Winston's arm talent is one of the best in the league. Winston's biggest knock has always been decision making, right? The knock, or the impact to that was then him saying like, "Oh, I got laser corrective surgery. I can actually see a little bit downfield now," et cetera, et cetera. Jameis has never made good decisions on and off the field. That's been well documented. But I think in this system, Sean Payton's going to handcuff him a little bit in terms of what he's allowing him to sort of like do from a play calling standpoint. I think Winston has the arm talent to open that playbook a little bit more. They're going to involve Taysom Hill and some wild stuff. Kamara is phenomenal. When they get Thomas back, it's just going to open things up a little bit more. I really think they're going to make a great second half push. They're going to lose the division by a game or two, but I think they're in the postseason.
I'm gonna switch up my feeling on one of these teams. I'm kind of looking over their depth chart, and I'm gonna switch something up.
Okay.
I think New Orleans is the bottom of the division.
You are a garbage human being. I can't
Listen to me. I think Atlanta. I think the division goes Tampa Bay, Carolina, Atlanta, New Orleans. I think Atlanta is close to a 500 team after going 4-12 last year. I think losing Julio Jones doesn't hurt them as much because they've got Calvin. Listen to me. I want you to listen to their starting lineup. Matt Ryan,
run team. They're not going to give the ball to Pitts.
Matt Ryan. Forget Matt Ryan for a second, okay? Listen, he got the ball to Julio Jones. He didn't get the ball to anybody. Calvin Ridley, Russell Gage, Olamide Zacchaeus, who's been amazing, by the way, Kyle Pitts. All right? They've got Matthews, Gono, Hennessy, Lindstrom, and McGarry across the line. Not a great line, not the worst line. They're probably middle of the road line. But dude, I just think Keith Smith's one of the better fullbacks in the league, too. I know that's saying crazy, but
we're citing fullbacks right now, Mills?
No, because they've got Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a between the tackles guy. Keith Smith is one of those guys that leads really well. There's not a ton of them anymore. Patrick Ricard, Kyle Juszczyk, believe me, there's not a ton of them. But Keith Smith is one of those guys that leads a very good I-form run. I think this team is closer to 500 than when I came in. I'm literally convincing myself otherwise. And I hate Matt Ryan. I absolutely hate Matt Ryan. And I think this team, dude, who did they lose? They lost Julio Jones, who honestly, I don't think he's an injury risk, but he was injured last year for the most part. Todd Gurley, who's nothing. They replaced Todd Gurley with Mike Davis. Their receiving core has Russell Gage, Calvin Ridley, and I'm telling you, this kid Zacchaeus is going to be good. It's Kyle Pitts and Hayden Hurst at tight end. Like, they've got all the weapons on offense to really shoot out with teams. And I don't think New Orleans is going to be as good as you think they're going to be. How good were they? How good was New Orleans? Forget Teddy Bridgewater, okay? Forget Teddy Bridgewater for a second. Drew Brees cracks a rib. How good were they? Alvin Kamara went missing last year when Brees went down. Absolutely missing. He was one of the worst. And again, we're not going to talk all fantasy. He was one of the worst fantasy backs in the league when Brees went down. I'm telling you, I think you're overstating, or I think you're missing out on how big of a loss Drew Brees is to this team.
No, they can throw the ball more than 7 yards this year. Here's Drew Brees. What's that gif of Bengal? You know where Bengal does the throw?
But it was stupid. What was it, the Daniel Jones thing when he was emulating Daniel Jones in the front yard?
That is literally Bengal imitating whatever quarterback that was, Rivers or Daniel Jones or whoever. That was Drew Brees for the past 2 seasons. Drew Brees had a little noodle out there just trying to throw the football, and it was not going far.
Hold on a second. Do you think Ben Roethlisberger plays well this year?
I want Ben Roethlisberger out of Pittsburgh, so I hope he does not play well.
That's not what I ask you. Ben has a better arm right now than Drew Brees. Ben still throws 30 touchdowns. This bias will not be. I have trashed my Ravens constantly, and you cannot say a bad word about your Steelers because you think Roethlisberger throws the ball better than Drew Brees
today? Yes, Drew Brees has a noodle
because Drew Brees isn't in the league
today.
anymore. No. I'm telling you, the Atlanta Falcons will be better than New Orleans Saints this year. You mark this word. 1 hour in on episode 35, Drew Brees, the New Orleans Saints will be a worse team. Will have a worse record in 2021 than the Atlanta Falcons.
Mark it down. Week 10, I can't wait to bring this up.
Mark it down. You put it in your phones. Put it in your calendar, your phones for week 10. All right, let's get into this. NFC West. This is the fun one. This is the really fun one because I'm really excited to watch these teams literally kick the hell out of each other. So we're going to start with Seattle. Seattle gains Gerald Everett from the Rams. Very, very good pass catching tight end for Russell Wilson. Dwayne Eskridge, who's going to be a wide receiver out of Western Michigan. Small guy, but incredibly fast, incredibly good after the catch. Gabe Jackson, very good guard out of Oakland, out of Las Vegas, who is, for Russell Wilson, anything you put on that offensive line is a help at this point. And then Ahkello Witherspoon, who's a cornerback from the 49ers. So he's going to have to kind of prove his way. He's going to make the team, but he should be better for them in that cover 3. They lose Carlos Hyde, which again, I don't really think that's a big deal with Rashard Penny back there. They lose KJ Wright, who's been a stalwart in that cover 3 for a long time. That is a loss for them, I think. Shaquille Griffin, they lose as a cornerback to the Jaguars. Got big money from Jacksonville, but like he was very good for Seattle as well. And then Jerron Reed went to the Chiefs, big time run stopper, and could stay in. He was a 3-down lineman for them. San Francisco, they get Trey Lance, who probably will not start the season. It will probably be Garoppolo. We'll talk about that here in a second. Trey Sermon at Ohio State, big expectations for Trey Sermon. He's not going to start. He's going to be the backup behind Raheem Mostert. But dude, look for some amazing things out of this kid. Elijah Mitchell, running back out of Louisiana, will probably be the third back. But again, once Mostert is kind of out of the picture, and this will be a couple years, look for Sermon and Mitchell to be a very good lightning and thunder combo. I think one of the biggest additions they get besides getting healthy is Alex Mack from the Falcons. Alex Mack is a proven center throughout the league, wherever he's been, Cleveland, Atlanta, and now for the 49ers. I think he solidifies that offensive line very much so. They do lose Richard Sherman, which I think was kind of, it's a money thing, but you got to get rid of him. Jerick McKinnon, which I think they're fine at running back now. Tevin Coleman, same thing. Jordan Reed, who, again, was a health concern anyway, didn't really do a whole lot for them, especially they got George Kittle, let's be fair. And then we have the Arizona Cardinals, which is probably the weirdest team in this division to kind of call. They get AJ Green from the Bengals, who's a step slower, but he's always going to catch balls near him. James Conner from the number 6, James Conner from the Steelers, who's going to be working, probably doubling up with Chase Edmonds. Rondale Moore out of Purdue, who's going to be a wide receiver. I think he ran out like a 4.2 940 out of Purdue, so that's going to be cool. JJ Watt coming over from the Texans as well. That's going to be interesting to see if JJ Watt can still have an impact at his age. And Zaven Collins was their number 1 overall, or their number 1 pick out of Tulsa, going to play linebacker in a very good linebacking core anyway. They do lose Larry Fitzgerald, which I think AJ Green is kind of taking that place. Kenyon Drake, I think they're fine with James Conner. And Patrick Peterson, who really was underwhelming in his last couple of years in Arizona. Then you have the LA Rams, who are getting a massive upgrade at quarterback with Matthew Stafford over Jared Goff. Deshaun Jackson comes over for the Eagles as a deep threat for Stafford. Tutu Atwell is going to come in from Louisville as a second-round pick. Small dude, but can work the middle and work after the catch. Obviously, they lose Jared Goff. That's not even a loss. That's addition by subtraction. Malcolm Brown, who they probably want back right now. Josh Reynolds, wide receiver, goes to the Titans. Gerald Everett, they just talked about, goes to the Seahawks, and John Johnson, who was a very good safety for them, goes over to the Browns. Jesus, the Browns, man. We'll wait till we talk about the AFC next week. But the biggest loss that they've had now is Cam Akers. Cam Akers went down. He will not play this season. They did trade for Sony Michel from the Patriots this week for a couple of draft picks. How does Elliott have any draft picks yet, by the way? But again, the Patriots are kind of healthy with a lot of about the same talent running backs. Sony Michel, not a world beater, but one of those guys is going to step in. He will start for the Rams probably week 1. How do you feel about the NFC West?
This is, I mean, you said it earlier. This is the weirdest, dumbest division. I'm going to start with the weirdest team, the Cardinals. The Cardinals are built like you are playing a Madden franchise, right? Mm-hmm. They have JJ Watt. You're bringing in AJ Green. You got this weird hodgepodge of a lot of guys you're sort of bringing on to like try to win the title. You've got a fast, young, mobile quarterback with a really good arm. I don't love their run game. Chase Edmonds is fine. Connor, I as a Steelers fan, I have reservations on just from how he performed over the last season with Pittsburgh. Right. He was supremely banged up. And he's typically like a between the tackles bruiser kind of guy. Maybe a dual system works for him, but we tried a dual system in Pittsburgh, didn't really work out.
I will say that the Cardinals have a much better offensive line this year than the Steelers had last year.
Sure.
They're running DJ Humphries, Justin Pugh, Rodney Hudson, Justin Murray, Kelvin Beachum, all getting older. They were middle of the road, but this will be another year of them together. So I think that's going to help Connor out a little bit. Yeah,
for sure. Fair. This division, though, if I had to say the cream of the crop, it's the Rams. I love the Stafford pick. Stafford's got a great arm still at this point. He's finally got a supreme amount of talent around him. Some questions here and there, but like I think the Rams are probably going to win this division if I had to pick. I lean towards the Seahawks being second in the division. I don't really count out Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson, if I remember correctly, started out incredible beginning of last year, then had some weird stuff sort of going on, finished okay, but I still think they end up being your second team. They get into the playoffs that way. I don't trust the 49ers at all. I love everything about the 49ers, except for their quarterback position. I don't trust Garoppolo. Bringing a rookie in like Trey Lance. I love Trey Lance, but if you watch any of his preseason stuff, the one thing he's doing, he's double clutching on so many throws. He has guys open, and he sort of like brings the ball out, hesitates, and then throws it again.
That's rookie. That's rookie written all over him. That's 100%. Why Garoppolo has to start the season.
For sure. And with Garoppolo, you don't know what you're going to get with him, right? So that I don't really pick if I had to pick a bottom team of the league for them, it's probably the 49ers. I don't think they're going to be terrible, but I think they probably finish last. I think your Cardinals are going to be fighting for second, but probably finish just out of it with third. Seahawks second, and then the Rams, I think, end up winning the division by a game or two.
So I'm the only thing I agree with you with is that I fully agree that the Rams are the class of the division. Even with Cam Akers going down, I think Sony Michel is the perfect back for the system. I think they're going to be a very, very good team. I think I think LA's finally going to see what it's like to have all of those weapons, sure, plus a quarterback that can use them. I disagree with Seattle. I think Seattle is not good. I think Russell Wilson carries them like he's been carrying them. I am a Rashad Penny fan, but I don't trust their receiving core. I do not trust their offensive line, even with the upgrade of Gabe Jackson. I definitely don't trust their defense. That team goes as far as Russell Wilson gets them. And again, the problem is Russell. Yeah, but like normally, like even last year, like that was not enough for them. That being said, I think the 49ers are second in the division, and even looking at the Rams, one of the things you have to remember from last year is the 49ers were the most injured team in the league. They lost all pros for multiple weeks. Fred Warner went down. Running backs went down. Wide receivers went down. Kittle was down for a while. Offensive linemen. You have to remember that this team, I mean, the starting lineup for this team, you ready for this? Garoppolo is what he is, okay? He's an above average quarterback that doesn't throw a ton of picks, okay? Mostert, Sermon, Elijah Mitchell, Juszczyk, who is one of the best used H-backs in the league, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Mohamed Sanu, Jalen Hurd, Richie James, who's going to see some play. You got George Kittle, probably the second best tight end in the league behind Travis Kelce. Then let me give you what the real good thing here is. Trent Williams, Laken Tomlinson, Alex Mack, Aaron Banks, Mike McGlinchey. That offensive line is a top 10, possibly top 5 offensive line. Okay.
Quarterback is not above average. You are crazy for calling Garoppolo above average.
Garoppolo above average, and he will finish this season. Trey Lance does not touch the starting job this season unless Garoppolo gets hurt, because this team is going to be a good squad. My prediction for the NFC West, which is going to be this is going to be my biggest prediction that comes right this year.
Okay. This is definitely wrong then. Okay.
This is the lock. All 4 NFC West teams make the playoffs. The NFC West has, I believe, the Rams are the class of the division. I think the 49ers are 2, the Cardinals are 3, the Seahawks are 4. But that is a bar that is very high, because I think all 4 teams are extremely good. And while they're going to beat up on each other, I think they're all going to be very, very good. And all 4 of them are going to make the playoffs, because remember, 7 teams make the playoffs this year. You don't get 2 playoffs. You don't get 2 wild cards. You get 3. I think all 3 of the wild cards come from the NFC West.
Okay, I'll give you that with the additional teams.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm looking at like Garoppolo's stats the last year for the games that he played in.
When that team, I want you to remember, the team was not healthy for most of the year. That is one of the reasons that it just was not a good year for them. I fully admit that they did not have a good year last year. But again, look through the injuries they had. Again, Fred Warner, all pro middle linebacker for them. They had injuries all over their offensive line and offensive players. They were 6-10 with as many injuries as they had.
I just don't know how you trust Jimmy Garoppolo, who is one of the most inconsistent quarterbacks that we've seen over his last 2 years. I'll give him, he was injured or whatever last year for part of the season, but like,
you don't need to trust Garoppolo. It's the system. He's got an offensive genius at coordinator. Okay. They have a coordinator who works the system.
Well, I'm thinking head coach. Sorry.
No. I'm talking about the coordinator. Yeah. The coordinator. So they're going to work very well with him. It's a run-first offense. It's always been a run-first offense. Even when it's not, they've got Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk on the outside, 2 of the best young receivers in the league. And they've got Mohamed Sanu, who is one of the best across the middle guys in the league. This is going, and again, they've got George Kittle. George Kittle could run forward, turn around after 5 yards, catch a ball, and still roll 10 yards. Like, this is
not if Garoppolo throws it 5 yards the other way.
I promise you that this team will be in the playoffs. At the very least, if you want to take one of the teams out, I think the Seahawks missed the playoffs this year. I really do. If there's one team out of these 4, I think it's the Seahawks that missed the playoffs. I think they take a major nosedive this year.
I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, my predictions were the Cardinals are a very close 3. So like you could swap 2 and 3. Like that wouldn't shock me.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't believe in Garoppolo, man. That's a dude I can't. I don't know. He got too much chin. He got all the chin, no passing.
Here's what I want you to do though. I want you to look around the NFC for me real quick. All right. Tell me another team that makes the wild card out of one of the other divisions that you would take to make the wild card over any one of those NFC West teams. Washington wins the division, right? We agree there.
Cowboys could, just because of their division. There's 2 bad teams in that division, so I give
but they got to play.
Chance.
But they still got to play the rest of their schedule. I mean, they still have to play the rest of their schedule.
Yeah.
Green Bay, I don't like. Can you see maybe the Vikings?
Yeah, I would say Minnesota is a possibility.
I mean,
Saints.
look at the. I mean, I know you love the Saints, but I mean, over one of those NFC West teams. Do you think the Saints are better than the 49ers?
I think the Saints are comparable to the Cardinals, and I think the 49ers are just so good on defense, and they have so many skill positions. That's what I mean. Again, they don't have a quarterback to facilitate the ball. Again, it's like having a Maserati. You don't know how to drive it. Like,
who would you rather have a quarterback? Who would you rather have a quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo or Jameis Winston?
Jameis Winston.
You're out of your mind.
I would take Jameis Winston over Jimmy Garoppolo. Absolutely. You put Jameis Winston in San Fran. You mean to tell me he has to throw for 5,000 yards with that group?
Yeah, 5,000 yards and 50 interceptions.
Don't matter. You got 5,000 yards and 57 touchdowns. I don't.
You really are playing Madden, aren't you?
No, I'm telling you, Jameis in San Fran is a significantly better roster than Jimmy Garoppolo in San Fran.
All right, give me your division winners. Give me your 3 wild cards.
Okay. Washington.
Okay.
Rams.
Okay.
Packers.
Got it. Packers. Buccaneers. We agree.
Okay. Saints.
A lot of chalk there. Okay. Saints. I'll go with that.
Cowboys.
You really are. You really are crapping in the West right now, aren't you?
Cardinals.
So you're going to say the Cardinals. You say the Seahawks and the 49ers lose out in the West.
Yes.
Okay. For officially, I'm saying Washington, LA, the Rams, Green Bay, Tampa Bay are the division winners. And I'm sticking with it. The Seahawks, the 49ers, the Cardinals, and the Seahawks in that order are the wild cards this year. I'm sticking with that. Now, here's the real question. Who is the NFC champion this year?
Man, all things, no
Don't
injuries.
Don't chalk me.
No injuries.
Don't chalk me here. You know what? You can chalk me if you want. I mean, if you have to chalk me,
I'm going Rams. I want to go Washington, but I'm going Rams. Rams.
I'm sticking with what I picked last week. After going through these teams and going through this preview with you, I'm sticking with it. I think Washington really does. I think this is the year. As long as Fitzpatrick doesn't go insane with turnovers or with, as long as he's not Fitztragic. He doesn't have to be Fitzmagic. He just has to be Fitzpatrick. If he becomes Fitztragic, then there's a problem. But that team is too talented. We agree there. We agree. I do trust Stafford over Fitzmagic for sure.
Yeah, that was the deciding factor for me. I think Washington has probably the better defense. I think the Rams are still an elite defense in this league this year. But because
who's a better
of
shot
Stafford,
at beating NFC Championship game? NFC Championship game pops up. Who has a better chance of beating them, Washington or LA? You like that one a little. That's a little tougher, right?
It is tougher, but I still think I go the Rams just because I think the Rams can put up more points than what Washington can.
I think Washington can stop Tampa Bay this year. I think Jamin Davis can 100%.
You tell me if we're playing at Washington, then yeah. If somehow Washington had the number 1 seed and had home field advantage against Tampa Bay, or just had home field advantage in general, I take Washington at home.
Terrible stadium, yeah.
Yeah, because FedEx Field is literally just, I don't know what, it's terrible.
Divots.
Yeah. But yeah, I would only pick Washington in that scenario, but I think the Rams, no matter where they played, home or away in Tampa Bay, I think they could still beat Tampa Bay.
So you have the Rams, I have Washington.
Yep.
Okay. And the NFC title game, we both think it's going to be Washington. I say Washington versus Tampa Bay. You're going to say LA versus.
I think Tampa.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we both think Tampa Bay has a great shot, but dude, at some point, Tom Brady has got to age, right? Tom Brady has to age at some point, or something on that team has to age.
Yeah. I mean, that man is a decade on me.
You realize Antonio Brown literally just shed off everything that happened to him and has become a top receiver again?
I'm not surprised.
I don't know. Spoiler alert for next week, we are going to be talking AFC Preview. We're definitely going to be talking some more NBA 2K as well. Remember, NBA 2K22 releases on September 10th. So they're going to be doing a lot of their pre-release information. We will have it in hand before we start next week. So NBA 2K22 next week, AFC Preview next week, the full league. You will get our official Super Bowl predictions. By the way, a little spoiler here. Tuesday night. Is it Tuesday night? Wait. Oh, no. I messed it up, didn't I? Is it Tuesday night? Hold on, I'm looking it up. Pad, quickly. Pad means talk. For me. Don't just sit quietly.
No, I want you to panic.
I'm panicking. Hold on a second. I gotta find out when this league's draft is. We have raredrop sports is gonna be having a fantasy football league. The draft is. Photo. I got it. I don't know. What is your? I don't even
look at my profile photo.
I'm not in the league yet. Hold on a second. The draft is September 7th at 7 p.m. Eastern. I will be streaming it live. I think a couple of us will be streaming it live. If you want to join in, razz us for what we're doing. I think K-Vision, I think Kevin's going to be in it. I think Professor Broman's in it. I think Darkness is going to be in it. All kinds of cool peeps. So if you want to check that out, feel free. Again, I will be streaming it live, so it's going to be Mills on Twitch. You're going to be in this, right? Am I doing this for Overplayed, or are you going to be in this?
I'm in this. I've already made my team, and I have a profile picture for my team.
Are you going? Wait. I can't. Hold on. Now you're gonna make me get the phone out. This is the second time. Now you got a pad for me again. Quick.
Yeah. So
speak.
When you log in, my team is called Watt Me Whip, Watt Me JJ. Okay.
I saw. Why is my picture? Why is the picture of my face without a? Come on, man. Why is that's the one I tweeted out too, me with no beard. This is preposterous. This is awful. Why is this? You know what? I'm gonna destroy you in this league. You have no idea. You want to bet?
Imagine looking at the week we play.
You want to bet?
Losing to that photo.
Do you want to bet?
No,
bet me. Bet me. This season I have a better record than you. Bet me.
No, I don't bet on things I can't control.
You ready for this?
What?
You can't control it?
Yeah, people get injured.
Look at me. Every single piece of hair on your body. Every eyebrows, beard, mustache, hair, everything. I want it all gone. If I have a better record than you in this league, every ounce of it. And I want a picture, not like that picture. I don't need to see all of it, but I want a picture of it just completely shiny.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is it for the Overplayed podcast. Mills is an absolute weirdo.
Every single follicle gone.
That was the AFC preview for this week. NFC preview for this week. We covered all the NFC teams. We had our predictions. Mills chose the Washington football team. I chose
a live streamed waxing. A live stream waxing that of do you have chest hair on that prepubescent body? Don't show me your chest hair.
I was just looking. I kind of do, I guess.
Do you? Do you have back hair?
I'm not betting hair. I have kids and a wife and a job. I am literally not.
Your job doesn't care. Your job fully understands. Your job knows me. Your job would love it if I got this to you. I'll talk to Corey right now. I will DM Corey right now and see if it's okay. Think I won't.
Mills is an idiot. Ladies and gentlemen, leave us a 5-star review. Be safe, be smart, tell somebody you love them. I hate Mills. Catch you guys on the next one.
Ciao.